Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Staredown. It has been a little while, but I am ready to jump right on into this. If you'll notice, today's episode is called Season 2, My Way, because I think after a little bit of a break, it's time to get back to what this whole thing was started for. Women talking sports, women's experiences around sports, and well, whatever the hell I really want to talk about. So, if you're ready, you know what time it is. Sit back, relax, grab a drink or two, and let's dive on into the stare down. So let's kind of jump right on in and let's just go ahead and address the obvious. Where have I been? And I know you've all missed me, right? Right. Well, I've missed you, but more importantly, I've kind of missed me. So this will maybe make a little bit more sense, and maybe that last statement will make a little bit more sense. But basically, I left a very toxic job. I'm going to call it what it is. I left an extremely toxic job at the end of January. It was a very interesting place because I was a female and I was not part of the in crowd, so to speak. My ideas were not heard. They were not given the merit that they deserved. And respect was, honest to God, just not given. So I did what I had to do and I left. And I have now started a new job that is wonderful and I love it so much. And everyone that I've met from the team has been they have just been so great and they are so welcoming. And it doesn't matter if I am a male or a female or an alien or whatever. They are just excited to have me be on the team and listen to my ideas. And we actually truly collaborate and we listen to each other. And it's not an easy task that we're doing, but it's just a good environment. So that's one thing, but I will say that even though I left something that was emotionally draining, it's been great to dive into something that has been very much, instead of dealing with emotional stuff all day, every day, or people playing games and playing emotional games, I'm actually doing work. I'm having to use my brain and think through problems and how do we fix them, or what can we do? How can we anticipate things in the future? So I have been exhausted in such a great way of being able to get back into actually using my brain for a job. So I'm very happy. So that's one thing that's happened. The other thing that happened is in the middle of February, actually right after the end of week 1 of my new job, I ended up with COVID and it was horrible. It was so unlike my first bout of COVID, which was basically like a runny nose for a day. No, this had me down and out for about a week. Fever, chills, awfulness. So guys, just let's all remember, guys and gals, everybody just remember, please wash your hands. Things still spread. Germs are everywhere. Let's not continue to have to deal with this. It was bad. But yes, there was that. Then after that, there were some more work things, new job things, travel, which is fun. I love to travel, so that's been a lot of fun. And then the other thing that I had happen was I had my gallbladder removed. So again, this is my podcast, so I'm going to give you guys as much detail as I want. But yeah, I had my gallbladder removed. It has been great, actually. I'm a few weeks out and actually started running again this week. So I'm on the mend, and I'm on the mend physically, but I think more importantly, I'm on the mend emotionally and mentally. And that's been a really hard thing because I don't think I realized how worn down I was after football season, and those things kind of happened and everything wrapped up with, the last job. And I keep just referring to it because it was a good point in time to kind of really realize when I allowed myself to have a little bit of introspection and figure out, kind of these things like, okay, why am I this tired? Is it mentally? Is it physically? All those things. So anyway, a long story, super long. Sorry, I've probably taken more time on this than I really wanted to, but oh well. I have done a lot of thinking about the podcast, and I have done a lot of kind of soul searching, I guess. Making sure that what I have said on the previous episodes is where I want to go with this, making sure that it's true to me and true to who I am and true to kind of what I feel like the podcast space is missing in terms of women in sports. And let me tell you, you guys, there's been a lot of things happening in sports lately, especially involving women. So I kind of want to this is a reset episode. It's why it's called season 2. And if you go look at it, the 2, it's just kind of like Beyonce, the two capital I's. We're going Roman numeral here. By the way, her new album, Cowboy Carter, please go check it out. It's amazing. Even if you don't like some of the songs, there's a little bit of everything for everyone on there. So, yeah, I've been jamming to it all weekend. So I've been a little inspired by her. So don't be surprised if that's not the last reference. But, this is to me, this episode is going to be me hitting the reset button. And not even really hitting the reset button, but me just hitting go, like, okay, skip forward. We're done with chapter 1. We're on to chapter 2. Like, this is season 2. Like, I've done this now this is, I believe, episode 18 or 19. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. It's it's episode 1 of season 2. So new start. We're gonna go into this season of life, and we're gonna start all over with it. So I'm gonna jump right on into probably the biggest topic in women's sports right now. The NCAA tournament, March Madness, baby. And of course, how fitting is that today is March 31st, the last day of March, which has, by the way, been such a long month. And even though it's my birthday month, y'all, this month has felt like a whole year. But that's okay, because tomorrow's April. So again, we're just gonna keep on keeping on. But the NCAA women's tournament has definitely not been a disappointment at all. Actually, neither is the men's tournament, but I want to focus on the women's, because I think that when you saw Shaq kind of come out early on before either tournament started, and he was like, look, the women's tournament's actually kind of probably going to be the one that I pay attention to the most. You have the Caitlin Clarks, you have the Angel Reeses, you have the Jujus, you have all of these storylines going on. And I think it's been such a testament to the work that these players and coaches and honestly conferences have put into growing the women's game. And, my husband always says, like, he loves women's basketball, and he'll tell anybody, like, women's basketball is where it's at for him because they play defense. I can't tell you how many times, even when Ole Miss isn't playing, we'll be watching a game and I'm like, how is that even a travel? Because let me tell you, some of these refs, and the refs have not all been great, but that's not the point. They are sticking to these rules. And, you don't get the 5 or 6 steps not dribbling. No, you're getting called for a walk, and you're having defense played. You're having girls being, I hate to say it, knocked out of games because they're down there and they're all going for rebounds, and girls are going up and they're hitting their head on the court. And that doesn't feel good. Angel Reese yesterday got a bloody nose. I mean, these girls are playing. They are playing. And it is so much fun to watch. And then, of course, you do have the personalities with it too, right? Like, it's kind of the same thing with, like, Ray Lewis and the Baltimore Ravens. Like, I love Ray Lewis's personality, the walking out on the field, like everybody knew his, like, walkout, and then the raw kind of thing. And I think you're starting to see these girls' personalities come out. But with that, the keyboard warriors all feel like they have the ability to say something. And so the first topic I really want to touch on when it comes to the women's game is Angel Reese is not a thug. Do I like her? No. Do I have my own reasons for it? Yeah, and I'm not going to get into them, but that's okay. Like, I really, honestly, it boils down to, I don't like her because she's not on my team. End of story. But when Angel Reese goes out there and tells, Camila Cardoso, like, I'm going to be doing this all fucking day. And everyone's like, oh, she's a thug. Well, then Cameron Brink walks off the court after fouling out and tells the ref, fuck you. Angel Reese is a thug, but Cameron is she's really passionate. That's not right. That is blatant. That is blatant. And you even kind of saw it in the article this weekend that the LA Times put out. And I'm not even going to bring up the quote because the way that the LA Times described the LSU women's basketball team, it was absolutely irresponsible journalism. I think we were all kind of waiting for the whole Washington Post article on Kim Mulkey to come out, and we thought that was going to be the hit piece, quote unquote, and like the big thing we were all talking about. By the way, the Washington Post article on Kim Mulkey I thought it was actually really good. I felt like maybe there were topics that they probably had dove a little bit more into until she made a big deal out of it. But I felt like it was a good article. I didn't know a whole lot about her, and it, to me, provided a lot of insight. I mean, I knew she had some issues with some former players, but like the things with like her dad, I didn't know that, her dad basically built 2 softball fields on their land and those types of things. So it's really interesting to kind of hear that. But going back to the original statement, I don't think that anyone expected that the LA Times article before the LSU UCLA game was going to be the controversial thing that we were all going to be talking about. But I do agree with Kim coming out and saying that was absolutely unacceptable behavior. I do even appreciate the UCLA coach coming out and apologizing for tweeting out or retweeting a tweet that had the article linked in it before it was fully read, and going back and undoing that and apologizing to Kim and to the LSU players and stating that, look, I understand there is no place for sexism, racism, anything like that in our game. And so my apologies. I should not have tweeted that out without reading the full article first. And I promise to do better in the future. That's all you can do, right? Like, we're humans. A mistake was made. Let's move on. But by going and apologizing to them directly was absolutely the right thing to do. And Kim, like I said, Kim had every right to call out the LA Times for printing that. The LA Times this morning, Sunday, did print an edited version, I believe, with that statement retracted. But the damage is done, right? Like, that's the thing. I had someone tell me one time that if there are ever words you don't want out in the universe for someone to know, if there's ever anything you don't want someone to know, don't ever speak them or write them. Because once they're out there and they cannot go back in. And so the LA Times should absolutely use this as a way to ensure that journalistic integrity is continuing to be something that they strive for, and ensuring that statements that are similar to the ones that were made in that article no longer make it through editorial reviews. It's just not acceptable. I mean, you're talking, you literally divided 2 teams playing on the same court for the love of the same game. And you basically divided them based on race and thug versus non-thug, or more black versus more white. And it's just, guys, we're in 2024. Like, we would all think by now that this isn't something we're going to talk about, but it is. And that's one of the things that I promised myself I would not shy away from on this podcast, and I'm not going to. And I probably have, and probably hidden it a little bit more than I would have liked. I kind of probably eased into it a little bit. But sorry, guys, kid gloves are off now. This is season 2. So we're going to call a spade a spade. It is. It just is. I'm not going to stand for it anymore. So it has no place in sports. It doesn't. So that's topic number 1. Topic number 2 on the NCAA tournament is Caitlin Clark. So, and it kind of ties into that one too, right? Like, especially talking about the whole like Angel Reese and then like Cameron Brink going off and saying what she said to the ref. And then yesterday there was a whole thing about in the handshake line where Angel told one of the assistant coaches, watch your mouth. I mean, look, if she didn't like the coach chirping at her, like, good for her. I saw something where someone said, oh, well, there were 2 LSU assistants there and they should have immediately stopped her. No, I don't think they should. I think someone on the UCLA bench maybe should have stopped their assistant coach from saying things they were saying to a child. Again, guys, these are kids. They're still, okay, so some of them may be 22 years old. I feel like I was still a kid at 22 years old. There was no way that I was a fully functioning adult at that point. Hell, I'm 39 and still don't feel like I'm fully functioning sometimes, but whatever. So you have that. Okay, so Angel Reese gets a lot of flack for this, and then it's like, oh, where are the adults in the room? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, but then you watch Caitlin Clark go out on a court, and she's dropping F-bombs, and which I don't know why I didn't just say the word since I've already said it like 3 times already, but, she's going out there, and she's, like, playing to the emotion, and she's doing all this, and everyone's like, yeah, she's just super passionate, blah. Guys, she's actually doing more, in my opinion, than Angel Reese is at times. And it's really hard for me to sit back and see and see how the differences are being handled between the 2 players. When you look at them, they're both phenomenal players. They are really good players. They are divisive. They have both come out and set standards for not only their team, but for future players. And so, again, when you look at it, what's the difference? And it's skin color. And so I just am tired of that being the thing that we even have to continue to talk about. But Caitlin Clark, moving forward, one of the things that bothered me on a completely different note is when she broke the record, the all-time scoring record for the NCAA. And it wasn't even, and then what, like a few games later, she ended up breaking it, including the NAIA record that was held by a Black lady from the 80s. And, they came out and they specifically said, like, no, now she really does hold the all-time record. Like, she and her coach came out and she even talked about, like, how cool that was. What bothered me, though, was when she broke Pete Maravich's record. In my hometown newspaper, there was an article about how, and I'm not kidding, it said some will still consider him the all-time leading scorer. Are you, what? First of all, why is that a headline? So you're saying that there's sexist people who basically believe that she can't score more points than he did in his career? Bullshit. Sorry. Let's call that what it is. It's bullshit. She has scored the points the same way he scored the points. They took the basketball in their hands, they shot it through a hoop, and with that, a certain number of points were assigned. They were totaled up over a career, and ta-da, she has more over her career than he did. She is the leader. I don't care if you think he is or not. He is not. It is hers. So, again, guys, we're in 2024, and I'm having to say that I have finally had enough of the blatant racism and sexism that continues to permeate our society today. And I'm done. And I know I single-handedly am never going to change it, but I'm not going to be quiet about it anymore, because being quiet about it hasn't changed it, right? So what have I got to lose? Nothing. I have nothing to lose at this point. I'm going to continue to talk about it. I'm going to continue to provide a space for all races to come and talk about their love of sports. I am going to continue to provide a space for all sexes to come and talk about their love of sports and their knowledge of sports and those types of things. But I'm no longer going to shy away from these conversations. I'm no longer going to shy away from the blatant disrespect that is being given to both athletes that are women and athletes that are not white. I'm done. I'm done. This place is going to be safe for them. And I'm going to call out those who continue to really call them out because they are of a different color or of a different sex. Like I'm tired of it. So that's kind of chapter 1 of season 2. The other thing that I really want to focus on in this new season is bringing the humanity of sports back into it. I want to tell more stories. I want to talk about what sports can do for people in general. And, you heard me talk a lot about it especially in the episode Never Quit. You heard KD Hill talk about it. And in his episode where he was a guest about how, he very much, it wasn't, that when he had his accident, he was worried that he was never going to be able to play football again. That wasn't it at all. It was very much the whole portion of like, okay, I've gotten to this point and that's okay. Sports are not in it for me anymore, but that's perfectly fine because of sports, I am where I am. So, I really want to bring the humanitarian aspect back into it. And there's one story that I saw that I really, 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 well, actually 2, I apologize, 2 that I really, really, really want to talk about. And the first one is probably the most famous one that most people will know if they've paid any attention, but Michael Strahan's daughter, Isabella Strahan, she has a brain tumor, and that is why he actually took some time away in the fall. And also, LSU's Greg Brooks Jr., who I think I talked about in one of the earliest episodes, he has the exact same type of brain tumor. And so I guess Isabella reached out to Greg, and they've been chatting back and forth because I think they're kind of in the same area and sort of the same phases of treatment as each other. And so I just think that is so cool that her, the daughter of a very famous football player, is going through the same thing that he, a college football player, is going through at the same time. And so they're using that connection and the sports connection to, support each other. And isn't that what sports are about, right? Like we have our love of sports, but then what else can we do? Like, where else can we connect? And that's kind of just being a human too. So I really loved that story. It was super cute. She posted a picture of her whole family that had on the Praying for Greg Brooks Jr. shirts. And so I thought that was really cool. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that she, not her, I'm sorry, there is another she. There is a she. She's a Michigan softball player named Kaylee Rodriguez, and she was diagnosed with cancer in the fall of 2022. And she had Ewing sarcoma, which is a rare form of bone cancer, but she is now, I believe, off treatment, and she is trying to work her way back to being able to play college softball again. And I think that is so cool, you guys. Like, I think that's so amazing. And as someone who was an athlete when I was diagnosed with cancer, I unfortunately was not really in a place to be able to come back and be at a competitive level after my treatments. And so I think it's just so awesome that she is. And I think it's such, a great testament to what advances have been made in terms of treatments and through the scientific community to ensure that it's no longer, 1, a death sentence, and 2, that not only is it not a death sentence, but it's also not an automatic change in course of your life if you don't want it to be. You can work back, and a lot more is known too about nutrition and those types of things. So I just think that's really cool. So I'm going to say that, Kaylee, if you ever want to come on and talk all things sports, being a college softball player, your love of softball, maybe how sports got you through treatments and those types of things, I'm always here. Which then leads me to chapter 3 of this episode. And there's only four chapters, guys, so don't worry. Like, we're going to get there, I promise. But chapter 3 is when I started this, actually on January, you guys, I don't even know, July 12th. I wrote Staredown goals. It's a note. It's saved on my phone, and I will share it as a screenshot on on the blog post that's going to go along with this, but my goals for this at that point, and really the only thing I've added to this are people. These are my guest goals, right? Like this is what I want. And so you'll see when I post the picture, you'll see there's a little bit of a break. And the ones after the break are the ones that have been added since this was originally established on July 12th of last year. So anyone from the U.S. Women's National Team, I don't care when they played, if they've ever played for the U.S. Women's National Team, I would love to have them on. Candace Storey Lee, man, she is kicking butt and taking names as the athletic director at Vanderbilt. I'd love to have her on. Nicole Lynn, Brittany Griner, Holly Rowe, Van Chancellor, the first male on here. Very, very wonderful women's basketball coach. He absolutely did a phenomenal job in making sure that the game of women's basketball was spread and that the fundamentals were held in there. So I would love to have him on. Sue Bird, Robin Roberts. Y'all are going to laugh when you hear these next three. Peyton, Eli, and Olivia Manning. Now, they can all three come on at the same time. They can come on individually. Peyton and Eli can come on, and then Olivia can have an entire episode to herself. I don't care, but I would love for them to come on. Michaela Schriffen, Susie Kolber, Jamel Hill, and she has 3 exclamation points after her name. I love her. I love her. I love her. I love her. And even though I don't always agree with some of her takes, I love the fact that she is unabashedly her. And after reading her book last year, I love her. I want her on. Tiffany Haddish, Martina Navratilova, Coco Gauff, Serena and Venus. Again, together, separate, I don't care. Amanda Nunez, Clarissa Shields, Billie Jean King, and Sarah Thomas. All right, so I basically feel like I covered every sport here, right? Except I didn't cover running. And so the next 3 names are the 3 names that weren't originally on there, but got added. And I'm like, guys, how did I miss that? I am a runner. Like, how did I miss the runners? But here are my runners. Sha'Carri Richardson, Brittany Reese. And Brittany Reese is not necessarily a runner, but she's track and field, right? Like, girl went and won some Olympic medals. How cool is that? And she's an Ole Miss alum. And she's part of Empower. So, like, I feel like I'm going 3 for 3 here with her. Like, I feel like she would be awesome. And then also Molly Siddell. And one of the cool things about Molly that I just am in awe of her is she actually ran in the Rio Olympics. She ran the marathon. And her second ever attempt at a marathon was the U.S. Olympic trials where she won it. Literally her second ever attempt at that distance, and she won it. Her third attempt was the marathon itself in the Olympics, and y'all, she won bronze. Do y'all know how hard that is? I don't, because I can't even fathom how fast and insanely good you have to be for that. So she's one. And then finally, my last one, and people may roll their eyes at this or go, ugh, but I don't really care. So whatever. It's Lance Armstrong. And part of the reason why I have Lance on here is because I did my internship at the Lance Armstrong Foundation back when it was still known as the Lance Armstrong Foundation. It was actually during the time when the little yellow bracelets were still very popular. He had actually just gone into retirement. It was actually his first year retired that I did my internship there. And so it was so much fun. But he's had a lot of things happen in his life since then, a lot of admissions. And I just think it would be really cool to talk to him from more of a standpoint of cancer survivor. How do you overcome those things? You know, I've said it on here once. I've said it on here a million times, and I'll continue to say it. We are all humans. We all have mistakes. We're going to make mistakes because we have emotions and thoughts and feelings, and that's okay. And so, just kind of talking to him human to human, what he did, even though he doped, quote unquote, it doesn't take away from the fact, and I think this is like the really cool part, right? And it sounds so odd, but everybody else was doing it too, and he still was beating them. And that was even after going through cancer treatments. Like, that's still kind of mind-blowing. So, I feel like he was probably more on a level playing field than the story has been made out to be, because it's just the headline's always been, oh my God, he admitted to doping. Okay, that's great, but so was everybody else. So everybody else hit it too. If he was able to hide it and not get caught while he was doing it, and he had to come out and admit it, you think that they couldn't hide it? Everybody was doing it. So he was still the best of them. And so I think that would be just a really cool thing to like take the aspect of like, would you do anything different? You know, I want to ask these things. And so that's my list so far. It will continue to grow, I have no doubt. But yeah, so I wanted to just share that, because I think, again, like I said earlier, if you don't want it to be known, don't say it. And to me, with that kind of thing, if it's not known, I'm never going to get a shot at having anybody on there. And also, too, if there were any of those names on that list and you don't know who they are, I absolutely suggest you go Google them, because some of them are so cool and have such amazing stories. And I just would love it. I would absolutely love it. So that's chapter 3, and we're done with that. Now we're going to move on to something that is a little bit more serious, that does kind of go back into the running aspect. A few weeks ago, I guess, back in February, there was a runner by the name of Laken Riley who was out for a run in Athens, Georgia, and she was attacked and murdered while she was on her run. And this is something that is so very scary. It is sadly still a reality that we have to face, that you can't even go out for a run in your own neighborhood or in your own city and be safe. Like you can't. And as a runner, and I think kind of what got me really thinking about this was actually something that happened yesterday. So I actually went out for a 5-mile run yesterday. It was the longest run I've done probably in a year. But I mean, again, I'm only a couple of weeks out of surgery and I'm still running 5 miles. Like, I think that's pretty awesome. And so it was hot. So I took my tank top off, but sports bra, running shorts, I'm covered more with that than I am probably, well, half the bathing suits in my drawer. That's a whole other story for another day. But I was covered more than a lot of people are when they go to a pool, right? So it is what it is. But I got honked at and whistled at and catcalled multiple times. And it's just kind of gross. And, you know, I was talking to my husband. I'm going to call him out here a little bit. And he was like, oh, I thought you'd be flattered by that. Like when I was telling him, I was like, I just didn't like it. And he was like, oh, I would have imagined that you would be flattered by it. No, I wasn't. I was just trying to run. I don't want to be catcalled. I just want to be left to just go do my thing. I don't catcall men when they're out working out with their shirts off. I don't. Like that's just not, it's not cool. And it makes you feel icky, because instead of being seen as a runner, I'm seeing as a woman running down the street, and in their mind, like half naked, but I'm really not. And even if that is what it truly is, who cares? Who cares? Don't draw attention to it. I mean, I'm just out here for a run, right? But I did find it really interesting, because then like today I went out for a run, and I actually just decided to kind of do this as a little experiment. I actually wore tighter, shorter shorts today, and I wore a crop top and then a sports bra underneath it. So I actually probably had about the same amount of skin showing in the midsection, but my legs had way less. You know how many times I got catcalled today? None. I also went out running when church was letting out. So I'm pretty sure that there was no male in any car leaving all of the churches that I ran past that was going to make any attempt to catcall me. So that may not have been it. I just thought it was an interesting point to make about what it's like being a female. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that and guys, men, literally, please correct me on this if I am wrong. But if you go out for a run and you are worried about being catcalled if you take your shirt off in the middle of the run because you're hot, please let me know, because I'm pretty sure you don't. But again, I'm not a man. I've never been there. I don't know. So let me know if I am wrong and you do worry about getting catcalled. If something like that happens, please let me know, because I think then too, that's a whole other situation that needs to be talked about. And I think ultimately, and that was chapter 4. But to Laken Riley, like, let's not ever forget her name. Like, let's not ever forget her. And let's not ever forget the fact that she was just out there doing something she wanted to do and her life was taken away from her. And that is so not cool. And this is not political at all. This is not political, but it is just absolutely unacceptable that we are still in the year 2024, in my mind, having to talk about the fact that there's blatant sexism, there's blatant racism, and there is a lack of security that women, specifically from my point of view, because I have felt it, feel when we're out there just trying to live our lives. And it's not good. But in the middle of all of that not good, there are really good things. One of the things I didn't mention when I was talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark is that, Angel came out today and even said, like, we don't hate each other. And guys, they don't have to be best friends, but they don't hate each other. So if anybody thinks they hate each other, that's the media making that up. That's not them. They've come out and said they don't hate each other. So, before we just jump and immediately believe everything that we see, know that there's usually a deeper story to it. Everyone has a story. Everyone has something else that's going on. So, humankind, be human, be kind. I feel like that's just something that I really want to ensure that we drive home in this season 2 of the Staredown. And we're going to stare down these hard topics, right? I think I said that in my very, very first episode, that was one of the things I wanted to do, but I think I got so hyped up in football season and being able to nerd out over football season that I kind of lost a little bit of the other aspect of it. And, I always think it's funny that sometimes the universe or God or whatever other deity you may believe in will sometimes bring you back to maybe where you started and where you need to be. So I'm taking all of the changes in my life, from a job to being gallbladderless to all of these things, to show me that this was my original intent. My gut keeps telling me to come back here, and so I'm going to. I know not everyone's going to like it, and that's okay. I know that others are going to have very different opinions, and that's completely okay. And I think the only way that we learn and grow and the way we become a better society and better humans is to have these conversations. They're not always going to be comfortable. They're not always going to be lovey-dovey and everyone's going to leave them feeling wonderful, but they need to be had. And so that's going to be one of the things that I do bring into this. If you are someone who has a topic that you would like to talk about and you want to come join, come on. Like, this is the place to do it. If you are someone who doesn't want to come on, but you want something to be talked about and your opinion shared, and maybe you want my opinion on it, bring it on. At the end, I will give you all of the places where you can reach out to me for that. But it is going to be coming back more towards women-driven, very community-oriented. So one of the other things too, that you're going to kind of see as we move on into a few of the other changes that are going to be happening in this season 2, we're going to move to a new day. We're going to be on Thursdays. I know this one's not a Thursday, but that's okay. It's a one-off. I'm kind of introducing you. I'm kind of knocking some of the heavier things that I've been feeling out of the way. But we're going to be on Thursdays, and we're going to start having more guests. So I've got a couple of really good guests lined up. Sadly, they are not on that list, but that's okay. I'm perfectly fine with that because I personally am really excited about these guests. Some you may have heard before, some you haven't. But we're gonna have a lot more women on talking all things sports. We've got a couple that you may, when you hear them, which is totally giving it away. Okay, it's Mallory and Megan. It's the other Mallory and it's Megan, and I'm so excited because they're gonna come talk baseball with me. And y'all, these girls are incredibly smart when it comes to baseball, and they went to like all these spring training games for all these different teams, and so I'm really pumped to have them on, especially since Major League Baseball did just kick off. So I'm pumped to have them, so you'll hear them. I've got another guest that is an incredible young man who is doing some things in the community, and you want to talk about making a difference and seeing things and meeting people where they are and asking the questions, what can I do? What can I do? And I am so inspired by him, and I cannot wait to introduce all of you to him, because he is truly going to make a difference. I mean, heck, he already is. So we're going to have more things like that. And I feel way more energized about this than I did coming out of January. I'm very excited to have had the break and to come back into it and to make a few changes. I'm also very excited to have gotten this first episode of season 2 out of the way. But I hope no one takes offense to the fact that it is called My Way. And the reason I hope you don't take offense to it is because, honest to God, if you really don't like it, then you can go start your own podcast. But you know what? I'm the one here doing it and putting in the time. So it is going to be a little bit of my way. It is going to be my way. And for so long, I've sat back, and I probably sat in a job that was emotionally draining and was not healthy for me. And I sat there. And I cannot beat myself up for it, because that's not healthy either. But I'm going to take what I learned from that, and I'm going to continue to just keep moving forward, because that's all I can do. And so, yeah, you're going to see my way and how I view the world and the things that I see and that I want to have conversations about and am willing to have conversations about. And I want to be there and to be a better human to my fellow humans. What's bothering you? What do you want to talk about? What do you think isn't talked about enough? So this is my way of being able to do that. This is my way of being able to reach people and hopefully show them that there are people out there that care and that want to hear their perspectives. So on that note, it's time to wrap it up, and you'll hear me again. I'm hoping this Thursday, but I feel like every time I tell you guys, I'm going to have an episode on a certain day, I never do. So it'll either be this coming Thursday, which will be April the 4th, or it will be a week after that, which will be April the 11th. So you'll hear me on a Thursday, but it's going to happen. So in the meantime, like I said earlier, if you got anything you want to talk about, you want to hear me talk about, you want me to put it out on Twitter or something and get a poll response, I'm here for it. Just let me know. But in order for that to happen, you got to send me your ideas. So you can find us on Instagram at @TheStaredown_podcast. You can find me on Twitter sorry guys, it's been a few days since I've looked at what that actually is. That one is at @TheStaredownPod. So Instagram at @TheStaredown_podcast. Twitter at @TheStaredownPod. No underscores on that one. On Facebook at The Staredown. Staredown is one word, but it is separate from the. So 2 words. Staredown is one. You can also send me an email to thestaredownpod@gmail.com. You can also go to the Alabama Take website and leave some feedback there. And as always, I try and do this all up real good to make sure that it's all done up real good, which is the Alabama Take saying. So with that being said, I hope that you sit back, relax, enjoyed your drink or two. Maybe go grab another one if you want. It's Sunday night. Why not? But listen to the Staredown, and let's keep this going, because season 2, I have a feeling it's just going to knock it all out of the park. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Tomorrow is April Fool's. Do not believe anything that sounds too good to be true. Hold that in your pocket and then ask again on Tuesday, April the 2nd, because, people just get silly. But on that note, this is not an April Fool's joke. I am back, and we're going to talk. So have a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys later. Hotty toddy.